Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I figured we'd finally finish up the RXDS50. And right now you're looking at the DS20, and that's because I've decided, after a great deal of reflection, to just go ahead and use this machine to fix the DS50. I could just go ahead and finish up with the DS20 as well. There are a couple of eBay units that are in better physical condition than this one is, but I decided after I looked at the cassette mechanism again in this machine that it just didn't make any more sense to do that, so we're just going to go ahead and use this to fix the DS50. So what's the plan? Well, the speakers are going into the DS50, and what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take the transformer out of this unit and swap it into the DS50, and I'm fairly certain at that point the DS50 will be able to run on our line voltage just fine. But wait, there's more. I've decided to experiment with this unit. I've decided to take the transformer from the DS50 and see if I can get this to work on line voltage with it. Now, what makes me think that this will work? Well, I'll just direct your attention down yonder. Let's see if I can set you up a little better here. Well, actually, maybe not. Let's do it this way. So, here is the power supply. This is the printout of my DS30 schematics. This is the European version, mind you. So this is the power supply here. As you can see right there, we've got 15 volts coming out of it and into the unit, and also 15 volts coming out of the batteries. Now, what makes me think this might work is if we follow this 15 volt line over here, it comes up to this area here, I think. Yeah, it goes up there, but it also comes up to here, and IC 311, that's the power supply for the whole unit. It's a BA3920. And the other place the 15 volt line goes to is this. This is the power amplifier, which is an AN7134A. This is rated for 14 watts per channel, so this is pretty good for the day it was built in. Anyhow, I have checked the data sheets of both of these, or rather, for at least one of these. This guy here, I believe, can take up to 24 volts input, and this can do 22 volts input. Now, there are a few other little areas around here that make me a little bit nervous about this, but I think it's probably going to work as long as we can ensure that the power supply is putting out maybe 17 volts or less. So that's the plan. We're going to swap the transformer over into the DS20 here, and then we're going to take our meter and then figure out exactly what voltage it's putting out. And then if I'm reasonably happy with the level of risk, then I'll just go ahead and bring power right to this deck, and then we'll just see if it works. And this is kind of important because I just completed another Joust auction. And included in that auction was not only the remote for the RXDS50, but also an RXDT901, which is another Japanese-only boombox. So I'm hoping we're going to find that this guy here runs just fine with the stock transformer, because I'm kind of hoping to make that one run on the stock transformer as well, off our line voltage. So we're just going to have to see what happens. Anyway, let me clear this off. We'll get inside the DS20 and I'll show you exactly what reason I have for giving up on her, which I hate to do because I have so many memories with this, as I've said before. Anyway, I'll be back. here we go, folks. The DS20 is open, and I'll just show you what's going on with it. It's a little bit, well, maybe it's not so hard to see, but you see this switch here? See how corroded that is compared to the other one over here? Well, it's really hard to make out, but I'll see if I can focus you in here. It's also really bad right up in here. This is the little flippy head mechanism. As you can see, there's corrosion all over this. It moves not too bad now, but that's because I sort of freed it up a little bit. Sorry about the shakiness. I'll try and keep it a little more steady. But yeah, this is all messed up and gummed up down in there. So this is why I've decided not to proceed any further with this. Now, yes, I could get the tape mechanism out of another DS20, as well as the other parts this thing would need. But I just don't know. This is a lot to store, all these boom boxes I have. So I just figured, let's say goodbye to this guy, and we'll just use it for parts. So I'm going to get in there, and I'm going to take that transformer out, and we're going to use that in the DS50. And I mentioned in the DS50 videos that this was quite a bit different from the power supply in there, but that is not quite the case, I'm finding. If you can look down here, this missing connector here, that could be added. There's the connector there, that can be added. And there's just one missing resistor up in there, and that could be added. But I think what I'm just going to do is just swap over the transformers. That should be all I need to do. And then, like I said, we'll take the DS50's transformer and put it in here, and we'll get the measurements off of it, and then we'll see if it works. And then I'll reconnect this, and hopefully everything will be good. But that's what we're going to find out. Now, I guess that's about it for now, so let me get to work. I'll pull all this stuff out off camera, and then I'll be back with you once I've got everything ready to go. Okay, folks, here you go. I've got the transformer out of the DS20. It's really not that hard to do. You've got these 5 lands to desolder here, and that's it. It'll just come right off. Now on the top side, we had more of these really annoying connectors where it's just bare wire stuck inside them, but it's a lot easier to deal with this on this part of the machine than it is to do on the cassette. What I'm going to do on the cassette of the DS50 is I'm going to delete that problematic connector entirely. I'm going to direct solder the wires to the board. I'm just not dealing with that again. So, but fortunately that deck is pretty well ready to go, so all I've got to do on that deck is replace the little idler gear, which is that one up in there. You remember it was clicking. And then I've got to replace that one belt I didn't replace. And I've got that too, so I will probably do that all off camera because you guys have seen enough of my struggles with the other machine. But let's just set this stuff aside here for a minute and we'll take a look at the speakers. I'll just set the tripod up here. There we go. These are the speakers from the DS20. As you can see, they are in much better shape than the ones from the DS50. They've got a cloth surround, which is interesting compared to the DS50s. There's the part number in case you need it. It's different from the DS50, so I hope these speakers work just as well, but we'll find that out. If they don't work, I'll just go ahead and refoam the existing speakers. I thought about trying to get a foam kit from Japan for those. There are people who offer those in Japan, but I just didn't feel like dealing with Joust over them because Joust considers speaker parts as not being able to be shipped via postal service. So I would have had to, I don't know, probably do some kind of a special shipping arrangement with them. But anyway, I'm not going to worry about that right now. We're going to use these speakers in the DS50 and we'll just see if they work. Now, I recently had a farewell going away type thing for the DS20. I brought it to the church to do my newsletters with, or rather not newsletters, annual reports. Now the first CD I ever played in this after I bought it was Enya's Watermark. And I decided to do something equally special for this machine as sort of a goodbye thing, and I played this on it, the brand new Strange Advance CD entitled 4. And folks, let me tell you, if you're a fan member, or if you're not a fan member, what am I talking about? If you're a fan of the group, buy it. Buy it now. It's every bit as good as every other release they've done. I am not kidding. And if you're into 80s type music, 80s synthwave, vaporwave, any kind of thing like that, buy it now. Just do it. You will love this. It is just amazing. Anyway, enough about that. We are saying goodbye to the DS20. So long. Thanks for the memories. Time to create some new ones. So just a quick little interlude before I continue my adventure here. I've got the DS50 and DS20 speakers here set up next to each other so we can compare them a little bit. And I'm noticing there are some small differences. This is a DS50 unit right here, EAS 12P428B. And I'm noticing the magnet on this one is bigger than the one from the DS20, which is an EAS 12P450B. So this may actually sound a little different, so I just hope it sounds good enough, because I really don't want to get into refoaming these. Reason being, the surround attaches from the back side of the cone here. You can just see. So yeah, I would rather just do a straight up speaker swap. Fortunately, they are the same impedance rating, and I'm betting that they use the same audio amplifier too, so I am absolutely sure these will work. We may not get the level of bass out of them that we would these with their bigger magnets, but they will work. I am just sure of it. Looks like we've got 1-inch voice coils on the DS20 speakers and about the same on these, so yeah, they'll work. And as you can see here, I've cleaned these two up a little bit. They don't quite look as good as they did back in the day when they were brand new, but they'll do. Okay, I guess I will continue on. Okay, we're back. I got the speakers in and the faceplate cleaned up and everything, and that's ready to go. So it's time to get into the cassette deck yet again. Now, what I'm going to do here first is we're going to unwrap these little tiny gears together and we'll take a look at them. Sound good? If I can get into this thing. I did not, of course, come prepared with a knife or anything, so seems pretty well taped in there. Ah, they're coming, slowly but surely. Now, I could have sworn I ordered 4 of these. Maybe I ordered 5. But yeah, these are 3D printed. I got them from a guy named Martin from Fixament.com. And according to the note that I got with these, they may run a little bit loud for a little while, but then they should quiet down. So I'm going to pick the best one of these and I'm going to put it right in there. And I don't think I'll show you the entire process again, like I said, of taking all this stuff apart and dealing with that. So I'll show you on camera when I put these things in, or when I put the new gear in. And then we can move on to the next one. But yeah, the reason I got so many of these gears is because they are very, very common. At least this transport is. It's very common. It's pretty much guaranteed that the DT901 that's coming uses 2 of these. So likely I'm going to need these new gears again very soon. And I know the DT9 uses this mechanism too, so since I do plan on getting one of those yet, I'm going to need more gears, probably. Possibly, we'll see. Okay folks, here we go. Ready to replace the idler gear, and I thought I'd just go ahead and do this with you. So out comes the old one with its broken tooth. I'll show it to you here, if you can see it. Right there. And now we'll just put the new one in. Or a new one in. I've got 5 of them here. So I'm just looking at the gear teeth, the new gear. And this one looks good. So what I'm going to do is get out my lubriplate here, and I'm going to get in there and put a little bit more on that post. Not much. It's not going to take much because we already did this before. There we go. That's all I'm going to need. And now we take our new gear. That's the one I'm putting in there. And we'll just go ahead and gently set it in place. Well, actually, before I do that, there's a little bit too much grease there for my liking on the other gear here. So we'll just take a little bit of that off. And now we can put the new gear on. Like a glove. And we should have no more clicking from this mechanism, which will be great. Now the note from Martin said to let this run for 2 hours or so playing a cassette, and then it'll quiet down, so I'll find out on my own how that works out. I don't think I'll bring you guys with me for that, because I've got certain music I like to play that is probably going to be problematic from a copyright perspective, so yeah. Now I gotta fight with this little plate again. Always fun. Come on, that's your home. Are you too good for your home? Answer me! There we go. I haven't watched Happy Gilmore in a long time. I should do that one of these days. One of my favorite actors is in that movie, Richard Kiel. That's Mr. Larson, for those of you who don't know. Also, Jaws from James Bond. There we go. I will put the head block back on, and then we'll deal with this really terrible connector. Rather, I will, because I'll do that off camera. I'm just going to take this whole thing out and solder the ribbons right into there, because they were just barely connected when I got this back apart again, so extremely problematic. And that will be going away. So I guess that's it for now. Oh no, wait a minute. Let's talk a little bit about the belt. This other one I didn't replace last time. Supposedly that is a 6-inch internal circumference belt. So going with the way I showed you before to measure belts, you stretch it out against a ruler, and then we want a 3.0 for that one. And it's one of those square belts, 1.2 millimeter. Millimeters, inches, what is that in hectares? I don't know. What do you suppose Morgan Freeman's doing today? Anyway, I gotta get going on this. He's probably narrating something awesome, isn't he? Isn't he always? Love that guy. Anyway, I'm going to put the head block back on and work some more on this, and then we'll get back to you when I've got something to get back to. So I just got the new belt in. You can see it right up in there, kinda. And I decided to go ahead and measure the old belt, which is this one right here. And I gotta show you this. Check this out. It's supposed to be a 6-inch belt, and it is still a 6-inch belt. So from a stretching perspective, this was not faulty. However, I can just tell by running it through my fingers here that it's old. So since I want this to last for years, I just went ahead and put the new belt in anyway. Because we're here, we might as well. So that's done. I'm about to put the cassette back together, and then I'm going to fight with this little circuit board up here and see if I can get this connector out. Okay, folks, as you can see here, I've got the little circuit board off the top of the tape mechanism, and the connector has been removed. And I just wanted to give you a few tips while I've got this apart, in case you ever have to get into this yourself. The solenoid here, as you can see, kind of, those white parts, they've got little clips on them. You've got to work those clips loose from the top, which is kind of hard to do while the mechanism is together, but it can be done. I used a dental pick to just sort of release these little claws on the side. That enabled me to get it out. Now when you do that, watch out, because this will try and go away on you. This is the little plunger for the solenoid. So don't lose that. Now, how am I going to do this? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder the wires in place like this, and then I will reattach this board to the mechanism. That's going to be very hard to do, but that's the way I'm going to do it. So wish me luck. Oh, and one more thing. You see these little tiny wires on the solenoid? Don't break those. I'm telling you, you're in for a bad time if you do that. Okay, folks, she's all back together. And I just realized something. I was going to get behind this board here and resolder all the RCA jacks before I had permanently reattached my tape mechanism here. So I did a real good job, I think. She's all soldered in, but now, yeah, I have to figure out how I'm going to get to these RCAs with that permanently attached now. I had to do this once on my DS20, and I figured while we're in here, might as well do it here too, but okay, let me figure this out. I don't think I'll show you this part on camera because I remember it being a bear to do with the DS20, so I'll probably get back to you once we're in here working on the power supply. Okay, so we're all done that stuff. I got the board out. It's actually not that hard to remove. It just slides out from here. There are no screws. It's just all these ribbon cables you got to deal with, and the fact that I soldered in that one to the tape deck. So everything's just kind of fit together loosely right now, and I figured while we're at it, let's just do the power supply stuff on camera. Together. How would that be? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out, but I'm going to leave all these ribbon cables attached. I've sort of got them freed up here so I can work on the assembly. So yeah, hopefully we should be good to go here. So I'll just work my way past you with my extra long screwdriver and start trying to get this assembly out of here. There are screws on the bracket for the transformer, and there are screws on the AC receptacle you got to deal with here. Man, I hope when I get in here I find out that the transformer layout is exactly the same. It probably is. It would be really weird for Panasonic to start using proprietary stuff across different decks here. I know there are other manufacturers that do that, but usually Panasonic isn't one of them. So we'll find out fairly quick here, if that's the case. And I'm going to flip on my soldering iron right now, so it's nice and warm, and we don't have to wait too long. I've already checked, and this AC receptacle is the same one from the DS20, so it will work. Okay, we are ready to bring her out. And I'm just going to leave the bracket on here too and just swap brackets over. And there we go. Where's my other transformer? Actually, let's get the circuit board for the DS20. Because we got to do that right away too. So this is the DS20 here. And look at that. Let me put you back a little more so you can see. That certainly looks identical to me, doesn't it? So yeah, I think we're good to go. So I will set that aside for now. And I will sort of reach around you to do this soldering work. If I can find where I put my solder pult. That's this big blue thing that I've had for ages and needs to be replaced. Or rather, it needs new tips. It doesn't need to be replaced. So, I've got the iron temperature as hot as it goes, because these are big traces. Might have to do this a couple times, because I had to do that on the DS20. And the solder pult is already clogged up. That's to be expected. There's a lot of solder on these joints. But they're cleaning up nicely. Just go over them a second time, and then we'll start working that loose. It's already mostly loose. If you're wondering what I'm doing off camera here, I'm ejecting the solder bolt into a bucket, an ice cream pail. But we shouldn't need that anymore, so I'll just put it down on the floor. That middle pin is a little bit sticky yet. Just apply a little heat and work it back and forth, and it should just come right off like that. And this is the one from the DS20. You can see it's got two green windings, while this one has yellow and green. So, what I like to do before I throw things in there is just get a dental pick inside these and clean them up a little bit more. Sorry if I'm shaking the table here. And this should just pop right into place. There we go. Just like so. That should be fully compatible now with the North American power grid. I can't wait to try it. And we'll do that on camera, I promise. So if any magic smoke comes out, we'll see it together. But it'll work. I'm just dead sure of it. I'm not even going to test the voltages coming out of this power supply. I'll just fire it up, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So that should be good enough. I'll just get my flashlight here and take a quick look. Yep, we're good. Now we'll put that back in place. And then we'll get started on the CD stuff. So, I'm going to go ahead and put this back together. I'll be right back. So it occurred to me before I get started putting anything back together, this is probably about the best time possible to test the DS20 power supply with the Japanese transformer. So we're going to do that now. I've got my multimeter right here. I don't know if you can see it really. See if I can find a decent place for it here. That might work. So that's all set up. Now let's give this thing some power and we'll see what happens. My prediction, nothing. But just in case, I've got this on a whole different circuit for my lights, so we're going to see one way or the other. Okay, power is applied. Nothing's smoking, which is exactly what I expected. Now, the dangerous part. I got to flip this over to measure the voltages. Now, our 15 volt output is the pin on the very end of this connector, and then the three middle pins are ground. So that's what we're going to do for testing. So 15 volts is the furthest away here. I'm going to get it from the midpoint here, or at least try to. And then ground is the three middles. Let me see if I can find a good place to test ground. Looks like this pin right there ought to be good. Now, can you even see what I'm doing? A little bit of a reflection going there. I'm not crazy about all these reflections. Let me see if I can prop this up to get rid of those. That's probably about as good as I'll get. Anyway. And let me see here, what's going on? Oh boy. 25 volts. That dog is not going to hunt. I'm sorry. We are not going to even try to plug this into mains voltage with the DS20. In fact, I'm going to take that transformer right back out of there because I don't want the DS20 powering up with this transformer. 25 volts, that's too much. That is way outside the spec for those two chips I talked about. So, that's bad news for my DT901 that's incoming. Either I'm going to have to use that one with batteries, or I'm going to have to use that one with a line voltage converter, which I'll probably get, because it's so much easier. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to rip that transformer off there, throw it in a parts bin somewhere. I don't know what I'll do with it. And then this will be going back into the DS20 without a transformer, I think. I need to guarantee that it won't power up with mains voltage. And yet, the transformer is a major part of the mounting for this board. Well, I'll go off camera for a minute and I'll think about that. Okay, the power supply is back in. Everything's all mounted up again and we're ready to start on the CD player. But first, I thought I'd show you what I decided to do with the DS20 power supply. I decided to just go ahead and leave the transformer in there, but I took the AC receptacle out. And the reason I did that is because it's got this little switch built into it that tells the unit when it's time to use battery and when it's time to use the power supply. And I figured this could be useful for spare parts. This, not so much. So anyway, that's what I did. Now we're going to try and figure out how to get the CD mechanism out. It's been a while, so bear with me. There are 4 screws, if I remember right. 2 up top and 2 back here. So let's get those out so we can get the top cover off. If we're taking the time to service this thing, we might as well go all the way with it. And if you hear me slurping liquid, it's because I got thirsty and decided I wanted a Dr. Pepper real bad, so I've got a Dr. Pepper sitting off camera. Why, yes, I would like to be a pepper too. Wouldn't you? Okay, that's those 4 screws. Now, how does this go again? Does it slide out or what? I can't remember. Let me just get a little lower and I will see. Yeah, I think it does kind of just slide out. Like so. And be careful of these. Well, you can't see them right now. Be careful of these black wires that come out the side that go to the input board here, or whatever you want to call it. There we go. We don't want to break those wires, because that tells the deck when the CD is closed and ready to go. So I will set that off to the side. Now, this should be fun, especially working with all this stuff inside the unit without dealing with any more of these terrible ribbon connectors. Okay, we've got 4 more screws up top here. Then we can get the board out with the mechanism. Got a screw here, one there, and one down in there. Let me see if I can get you a better perspective on this. Things are a little cramped, but not too bad. Don't worry about putting screws back in. Most of the ones in here are exactly the same, because Panasonic loves to use just basically 1 or 2 or 3 screw types throughout their units, which I think is a good thing. So that's done. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3 2-pin connectors. And there's probably, yes, there is a ribbon cable in there. So I'm going to take these off, if I can get them off. These can be a little problematic, or a lot problematic. You want to try to not pull them by the wires. You want to work them out from the sides. And after this much time, they will be very much married to their counterparts. Sorry to bump you guys. Could have sworn this was easier on the DS20. It probably was easier on the DS20, because I remember having to work on the DS20. And this has likely never been apart. Well, isn't this fun? I gotta get my mini screwdrivers out in order to deal with this. Let's see, that one should do. Now we'll use leverage. Maybe. This one's real stubborn. There we go. Finally. Now I gotta do 2 more, if I can reach them. Hopefully we aren't breaking anything, but you never know. Oh, while I'm doing this, I had a look at the amp chip that was used in the DS50, and it is exactly the same as we had on the schematics. So it's probably exactly the same for the DS20 as well. Here we go. Now I can flip this up and give you a better look at what I'm fighting with over here. And these little connectors are a pain. But be patient with them. They'll go. Talking more to myself than the camera right now, but that's okay. I like talking to myself because I'm the most interesting person I know. He said with no trace of immense ego. Boy, these things are fighting. There we go, finally. Now there are little hooks on the bottom side here to free up. And then we can pop this transport off. Hopefully. Okay, and then we'll get a look at the ribbon cable here. It's just right up there. And this type of ribbon cable is not that hard to deal with. You just unclip it from each side and then the ribbon just pulls right out, like so. Hopefully you saw enough of that to know what I was doing. And we'll just push this forward a bit so we've got room to work here. Crane you all the way down. Now let me see. Yeah, the grease is kind of nasty in this now. Just checking the little gear that runs the sled. Looks okay. Now the pieces I want to lubricate are the worm gear here and this little slider here. And then this should be fine after that. So, screwdriver. Now this is the exact way to get the laser sled out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back it off a little bit so it clears the motor. Because when I take this little piece out, the whole laser sled's going to come out with it. Still not clearing the motor, so gotta sit here and wind this a little bit. It's getting there, don't worry. Okay, that should do. Now we take out this little keeper screw here, and then this little piece will just slide out that way. So you can kind of see it there. The screw kind of holds the little metal pole in there. So that should be good to go. If we can get it to move out. It's not the easiest thing in the world because you gotta get some pliers or something around it just to get it to move. And you don't want to go too hard with the pliers either because then you're breaking something. Boy, that grease looks terrible. Man, this is a little difficult. But then, of course, it is. How am I going to get that thing to move? It's obviously not falling out on its own, so she's been in there a while. I'm going to go get some tweezers. Now be careful with this laser stuff because this is static sensitive, so you don't want to zap it and have to go get the laser out of the DS20, which I could if I had to, but rather not have to. Boy, that's in there. She does not want to move, does she? Oh, well, actually it has moved a little bit. Let me back this screw out just a little more. I'm going to try and pull it from here if I can. Don't be too shocked if I can't. Oh, there we go. Easy as pie. Well, maybe not. Now I'll get a shop towel here and clean this little rod up. It's not an inanimate carbon rod, of course, but it'll have to do. Okay, so that's clean. I'll set it up off to the side there. We'll see if we can get the sled out. And it needs to come back a little. Little more, that is. Okay, that should do it. Not to worry, I have been careful to discharge my static electricity here, and it appears that this will not just come out off the worm gear. Just trying to have a look and see just how easy it is to get the worm gear off. I think what we got to do, well, let me take another look at this. Yeah, the sled motor comes off after removing this screw here. And that's a tiny one, so don't lose it. Dr. Pepper time. Yummy. So, or does that even come out? Watch me do things for nothing. Ah, there we go. Just needed a little persuasion. Set that off to the side too. And we will try and get this worm gear off. Worm gear. Yeah, my brain's funny. I know it is. And there we go. There's the laser. And I'm just going to leave this gear on there. I'll clean it up and I'll re-lube it right as it is. Because we got a lot of old crusty lube to get rid of here. I'll just show you here. That's just nasty. We got to lubricate all of that for sure. Fortunately, I am prepared. I don't know how that's pink, but it is. That's just about got all of it off from there. Now we'll do where the worm gear rides. And that's that done. Pretty much. There's still a little residue, but if there's just a little residue, that's okay. We just want to make it a lot easier for this mechanism to work. Now what I'm going to do is get the lubriplate on. I'm just going to go ahead and just dab it right in there. Like so, and then we'll just work it back and forth here, because that needs to go everywhere around there. That might be a little much, but it'll do. And then we'll put some on this inanimate carbon rod too, once it goes back in, which is, well, not right now, because you got to clean up that worm gear first. Well, that was a little premature, but just trying to get some lubriplate in where the worm gear sits, so I don't forget about it. There we go, that should do. And now we'll take our little worm gear here and we'll clean it up as best we can. And a low downside of using my shop towel for a place to hold parts, because now I got to get another shop towel. But that's okay. Just clean this up real good. Then we'll lube her up real good. I gotta spin the worm gear a little bit so I can get to the area that was inside the pickup, or rather the sled. And I think that should be good. So what I'm gonna do right now is touch the laser lens, because that's always a good thing. Lovely. And we're going to put a little bit of lubriplate on the worm gear. But not much, because I don't want much on there. There, just a light coating ought to do. And I'll run the worm gear out again. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Like so. Again, we want a very light coating. So I'll just dab a little bit of that off. Okay, that should be it for the worm gear. So we can put our pickup sled back in. Oh, we got something to clean up on the sled. This right there. That's probably the source of its troubles, actually. Get her greased up real good, and then she'll be fine, I hope. Now, where did I leave this? Is that going to be enough? I don't know. I'll just see if I can put a little bit more in that little doohickey right there. Now, when it comes to tweaking the laser to read CDRs, you would want to do it using this pot here, but I'm not going to do that just now. I'd rather just get this working for now, because I'm not going to play CDRs in this. It's really not the plan. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit more lubriplate right down here. I don't think it needs it, but I'll just go ahead and do that the same way I did that on the other side, because I don't think it can hurt. So now we take our laser sled, we carefully put it back in as best we can. Sorry, I'm not showing this on camera, but it's a little tight in here. There we go. Back in place. Should slide back and forth nicely now. We'll put this motor back in after we properly route the wiring, that is. I just love having fingers the size of the Empire State Building when it comes to this kind of thing. Comes in so handy, having these enormous fingers. I don't know why I'm talking about this right now, so you'll have to excuse me if I'm being weird again, because I'm always weird. Ask anyone who knows me. They'll say, "Yep, that guy's a weirdo. He's always over there doing weird things, saying weird stuff." Oh, it would be very helpful if that was magnetized, but it isn't. So I'm just going to try and start it by hand here. There we go. That's back in place. And hopefully working. The gear doesn't move. Why doesn't the gear move? Okay, so I found the problem, and you guys are gonna laugh at me. And that's okay, I guess. Just this once. That screw right there goes in this hole. It does not go in this hole. This hole will lock up the motor. So yeah, it's fine now. It moves freely. Now we'll get our inanimate carbon rod back into place. As best we can. And there she goes. Now we can run this screw back in. Try and show you here. I don't know if you can see that very well, but that screws back in place. I'm going to run the sled all the way back towards its home position, or at least try to. And hopefully this mechanism will be moving a lot more freely than it did before, because it seemed like it was kind of struggling before. There we go. And now I'm going to put just a little bit more lubriplate on the inanimate carbon rod. If I can get this giant tube in there. There we go. Not too much, not too little. So that should move nicely now. There's all kinds of grease in there. Now the only thing left to do is to put it together and test, and I will do that off camera. Alright folks, the moment of truth has arrived. I've got her back together and we're going to test. I don't have all the screws back in for the housing yet. I've only got 5 of them in. I just want to be sure everything's working fine before I run the rest of those screws in. Try to center my shot there. Anyway, I've got my little test cassette here. And for CD, I was looking for stuff that was out of print that would be unlikely to get flagged for copyright. And I came up with this one. We're going to listen to the world's largest pipe organ for testing. But first we need to plug in and we'll see if my transformer swap worked. Cross your fingers, guys. Plugging her in now. And we've got a little clock flashing. That's good. Power's on. Let's see, what should we try first? Tape deck? Probably should. I want to see how that gear works out. Volume all the way down just so we can hear the mechanism. Oh, I don't know. That's not very loud. That new gear. Most importantly, it's not clicking anymore. Okay, it's a little bit noisy right there, but that should go away. Alright, I'm pushing the wrong button. Okay. Tape deck appears to be good to go. Let's see if the CD works. I had my fingerprints all over that laser and pickup motor, so I hope this works. It appears to be working. Let's pick a random track here. Number 7. Now this isn't the world's largest pipe organ. This is the other organ in the building. This is the ballroom organ at Boardwalk Hall, which is finally operational again after who knows how long. Let's get to the world's largest. That would be track 11 here. Maybe I shouldn't blast that too loud. Sounds great to me. It's clearly working. But I'm going to shut you off for a second. I'm going to go find a different CD. I want to try some other music. Alright, I'm back with another CD. This is Andy Mark, Evil Games. This was never even released in North America, so I'll be very shocked if it comes up with a copyright issue. But my channel's not monetized anyway, so we'll see if it works. And that's been scanned. Whoops. Okay, something's going on with these buttons. Oh, there she goes. Gotta say, it sounds great with working speakers. But I haven't tried the XBS. I did make sure I cleaned all these controls while I was in there, so seems to be working fine. I'm happy. I'm not so happy with this button acting up, but as long as it works. Yeah, it just seems to be fine. Let's go all the way to the end here. See if the sled can track it. Yep, no problem. It would probably sound, I don't know about better, but at least a little different with the actual speakers it's supposed to have, but the DS20 speakers are doing fine, so I'm inclined to just leave it alone. And I guess that's going to be it for today. Thanks for joining me. See you next week for more. I've got some more work to do on that silver boombox, and you are not going to want to miss that video, because man, did that one ever fight. Well, folks, as luck would have it, that is not the end of the story. After I got this back together, I did a few more tests with it, and played a few more tapes with it, and then I discovered something. This guy wasn't always auto-reversing. So I tore it all back apart, got into the tape transport again, and folks, we've got a problem with the DS50 transport. I'm going to put a picture on the screen here, and this is the problem. This little plastic piece rattled its way out of the mechanism the first day I had this apart, and I couldn't figure out where it came from. Well, I figured it out, and it is kind of important. See, there's this little mode gear. It's the gear that turns around and engages all the different modes, or rather, it engages the transport in either playback or reverse or what have you. And that little gear rides on a plastic shaft. It appears what the factory did in this transport was they took this little plastic rod and they heated it up and they pressed it through the board and then terminated it on the other side with some kind of a press or something. Anyway, it's this termination on the other side that turns out to be that picture. So what we've got in there is we've got a mode gear that's rattling around loose on a rod that's not attached anymore. And there is absolutely no way to fix that at all. It's permanently broken. There's nothing you can do. Except I have a DS20 And I've confirmed that that gear and that shaft are in good shape in that unit. So what I'm going to have to do is take the transport out of the DS20, clean it up as best I can. I'll take the head block from this unit, and I'll take the circuit board from this unit because it's specific to this unit, and I'll swap that stuff over to the other transport in the DS20. I'll have to relube everything all over again in the DS20 mechanism. We'll use the good belts from here. We'll use the good, probably the good motor, or not the good motor, the good idler gear from here. And in that way, we'll finally have this thing working. As it is, I managed to get it to auto reverse a little more consistently, but there are times when that big gear, that mode gear, gets hung up and everything just goes haywire. It just jams right up, requiring a power cycle. I don't want that for this unit, so we're going to have to try and use the DS20 to fix it. So yeah, that's what's going to happen next. So if you guys would like to see me do anything more with this unit, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll probably do all of that off camera, because we've pretty much done everything as is now. You're just going to be seeing the same stuff you already saw. So yes, let me know, and maybe we'll do that sometime. Not for a while, because I'm kind of wanting to put this on a shelf for a while and just relax. But that's where we're at as of right now. Now I gotta clean off this table because I've got another video to shoot. I will see you next time, folks. Take care.